Moving on now into the headlines this morning. Let's see what newspapers are saying from what has been happening. And I have with me in the studio public affairs analyst, Shijibumi Adebi Bennett, doing justice to this morning. Shijibumi, good morning.
Good morning,
It's
Mike.
nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Great. Right, let's begin with the News Direct. News Direct is where we start from presidential election petition. PDP heads to Supreme Court over tribunal judgment. And tribunal judgment is victory for Nigerians, as President Buhari is saying that, as Tinubu, Abiodun, APC, others congratulate Buhari. Okay, that's the News Direct. Daily Times is still dwelling on the presidential poll. Why Buhari, why Buhari floored Atiku, PDP, at the tribunal. Daily Times is offering some, explanations there. Blueprint is where we go next. Again, Buhari floors Atiku. That's on the blueprint. And PDP sprints to Supreme Court, says ruling provocative and subversion of justice. And Atiku, PDP's case, complete waste of time. The APC is saying so. And a direct message to naysayers, as the BMO is saying that Judiciary on trial. As Ozekome is saying that. And time to move Nigeria forward in unity. President Buhari is quoted as saying that. That's what you see on the front page of the blueprint. Daily Trust is next right now. Daily Trust says Atiku heads to Supreme Court as Buhari wins at tribunal. Mixed reactions trail ruling by 5-man panel. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of the Daily Trust. And then Vanguard newspaper is still dwelling on the presidential tussle. Buhari floors Atiku. And the tribunal, Buhari eminently qualified to contest. Electoral Act substantially complied with, and adds that PDP didn't prove server exists, and claims that Atiku's from Cameroon a non-issue. And PDP heads to Supreme Court, says it's a travesty of justice. And I wasn't worried all along, says President Buhari, ruling in order. Atiku, PDP's case, a complete waste of time. That's the APC saying that. All right. From the Vanguard, let's go to Daily Sun now. Let's go to Daily Sun that says Buhari floors Atiku. Ex-VP PDP failed to discharge burden of proof over president's non-qualification, says Tribunal. And president's victory, good for Nigeria. Carlo is saying this. And PDP, APC, Obi, Wike, Tinubu, all of them react to the outcome of the judgment. That's what you see on the front page of Daily Sun. Now, The Nation is the next paper now, and it's the last one for the morning. And it says, Atiku adamant as tribunal upholds Buhari's victory. It's victory for Nigerians, says the president. PDP will appeal subversion of justice and its vindication of Buhari's character, says Tinubu. Lawan Baja, others, okay, verdict. That's the Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives. Wike, Sanwo-Olu, Obaseki, Oyetola, Abiodun, Akeredolu greet President. Those are all governors from different states sending congratulatory messages to the President. Okay. Shijibumi, a lot of people said they were not surprised at the ruling, that it was a done deal already. He seemed to be clear, even right from the start, that the president was going to even win at the appeal court. What do you think?
Yes, I was not surprised myself. And if you gauge the mood of the populace yesterday, there was not much of anxiety apart from the Twitter wars that were ongoing. Because number one, I want to commend former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the PDP for being civil, going the rule of law route, just to make sure that, okay, let's see what this is all about. And I thought they were going to bring in so much into this case so that Nigerians could learn, we could be educated, and we could even use this case to, make amends in our electoral process. But at the end of the day, what we now got was they are paying and premising the case on two vital points, which are the fact that there was a server, and there was electronic transmission, then incompetence of the president.
The president.
And, we thought, word by word, all those places where infractions were observed, they were going to bring in witnesses, and we were going to see, a very tight case. But along the line, you could see that the defense didn't have much to do. They just saw that they were wasting their time, and they called few witnesses and depended on what the PDP was throwing at them, that they are already contradicting themselves. So as at that time, the lawyer to the PDP was saying they didn't have a case, that's why they couldn't say anything. But it was clear, because the Electoral had still, that we were still using, say, is conflicting with electronic transmission. And when the PDP arrowhead, the person that was in the coalition room, the former FRS man and former Minister for Aviation, even said he was in the coalition room, and they did the manual computation together. So, and you are now saying there was electronic transmission. These are conflicting. That's one. Number two, the case of the incompetence of the president.
Ineligibility.
Ineligibility. So it's also, if you go to the people the populace call dancing senator, if you go to that case also, you will see that there is no case there, because it has similarities. The dancing senator in Osun was alleged...
Referring to Adeleke?
Yes, Adeleke. Was alleged not to have...
certificates.
Even before that, not to have gotten to SS3, senior secondary level of education, which is required by law. At a point in time, he had to come up with an affidavit. He came up with a result, and WAEC gave him a result. So the case was amended to say there are conflicting results, that then it's forgery. So one of the cases was, you are not eligible because you are not up to secondary education. Then another one is the fact that, okay, we can see discrepancies in this. But
in the eyes of the law, yes, that's a conflict already.
Yes, but the court said as at that time that they got a certificate from WAEC.
And that puts paid to it.
That says it all.
All right, now the PDP is heading to the Supreme Court. From the statement we have heard the lawyer of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar say, it means all this is not over yet, is it?
From my own point of view, I stand to be corrected. Lawyers, the only thing that I felt upset about was the fact that I didn't study law. And because I don't know, lawyers are I have a case myself that is looking like a bad case, and I'm trying to tell my lawyer that let me opt out and stop wasting money, but he's still encouraging me. So I think from my own point of view, it's still going to be same. What are you going to amend? What are you going to say in the Supreme Court? I also want to commend the justices yesterday. It was over 8 hours.
Yes.
And they took time to comprehensively
line by line, everything.
So if we are, and there are precedences. I just mentioned that Adeleke. It's the same thing, but he got a certificate. Why gave him a certificate? So no matter what you say, if you say 6 credits in this, 8 credits in this, they were able to prove that, okay, 1 is the number of past subjects that will be reflected. Yes. For the attestation, maybe past subjects. For the certificate, maybe the number of all the subjects. There were no discrepancies in terms of credits.
Yeah. Now, what do you make of, because we also heard a lot of people saying that the judiciary is being strengthened because, and then there's this inclusion. It was the first time that the judgment being delivered at the tribunal level was being televised live to Nigerians.
For me,
what does that mean? What does that add up?
When everybody is moving, we have to move. There are some things that is not really development. Okay. It's just the way, the norm, evolution. Just like saying we now have GSM. We didn't have it early. Everybody was having it. Even I think Ghana had it before us. So these are, ICT is everywhere. So, and for you to be able to prove that okay, there are no shady deals, there are no hanky-panky in this thing. Let everybody hear and let everybody see. I think that's the way to go. We can't still be operating in the Stone Age when everybody has left us behind. So.
All right. Shijibumi Hadibi Bennett, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Right.
Well, it's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. I have with me in the studio public affairs analyst Shijibumi Hadibi Bennett and in-house analyst Obani Akinwale. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
All right, we start with the news direct. On the front page, we have presidential election petition. PDP heads to Supreme Court over tribunal judgment. Tribunal judgment is victory for Nigerians. Buhari asks Tinubu, Abiodun, APC. Others congratulate Buhari. I will move to the front page of the Daily Times presidential poll. Why Buhari floored Atiku, PDP at tribunal. To the front page of the blueprint, again, Buhari floors Atiku. And on the front page of the Daily Trust, Atiku heads to Supreme Court as Buhari wins at tribunal. Mixed reaction to ruling by 5-man panel. On the front page of the Vanguard, presidential tussle, Buhari floors Atiku. Tribunal, Buhari eminently qualified to contest. Electoral acts substantially complied with, adds PDP didn't prove server exists, claims that Atiku from Cameroon a non-issue. PDP heads to Supreme Court, says it's a travesty of justice. I wasn't worried all along, says Buhari. Ruling in order, Atiku PDP's case, a complete waste of time, APC. To the front page of the Daily Sun, Buhari floors Atiku, ex-VP, PDP failed to discharge burden of proof over president's non-qualification, says tribunal. President's victory good for Nigeria, Kalu, PDP, APC, Obi, Wike, Tinubu react. And finally, on the front page of the Nation newspaper, Atiku adamant as tribunal upholds Buhari's victory. It's a victory for Nigerians, says President. PDP will appeal subversion of justice. It's vindication of Buhari's character, says Tinubu. Lawan Gbaja, others. Okay verdict. Wike, Sanwo-Olu, Obaseki, Oyetola, Abiodun, Akeredolu, great president. Gentlemen, we'll be looking at the story from the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning, even though all the papers are looking at the story. From the presidency, it's like this issue, they had a rest of mind, if you would use that language, that this case was already victory for the president. I'll start with you.
Yeah. Sincerely yours, it was comical during the process of the tribunal, looking at the kind of expert from Kenya. I begin to wonder whether we don't have qualified, certified Oracle guys or network guys or security and what have you in Nigeria. Then I think PDP, in the mind of their mind, like people always say, want to bring a container kind of evidence. Because if you look at the evidence that people was putting forward, Buhari qualification, it is already settled in law. The law states what is required for you to become
the minimum
to become elected. Then again, the other one was the issue of Staba. You remember that one of the things that Saraki government was trying to push before the election was for Buhari to sign the Electoral Act to allow for electronic voting system. Yeah. Now that was not voted, that was not passed. So there is no way you now want to concord what is not in law. So for me, I think like some of my friends on Facebook said they are trying to help Atiku loot more, because the case from every angle, you could see that even the judges were saying that the respondents were not coming up with witnesses, because what the petitioner witnesses are automatic witnesses for the petitioner. You have a case whereby Chidoka said this, and they said, what is the population? The total number of polling units in Nigeria is 120,000. And you can only know, so you cannot even substantiate, even in a state.
And so most of those cases were struck out.
It's so obvious that you could look at Buhari at the FEC meeting yesterday. He was just enjoying himself, because first time in Nigeria you have a situation whereby the judges had to lecture the lawyers.
Now that brings me to my next point, because these lawyers are supposed to understand, because both parties had advisors, legal advisors, and they should understand, you know, the import of all of these prayers they put up. So they should have understood that these things wouldn't hold water, so to speak, when you're bringing the case to the tribunal.
I said the last time that the only thing that upset me about the case was the fact that I didn't study law. Because sometimes, you know, I think these people, no matter what you bring to them, they just make money, quick cash, especially when you're a son. There's some cases that are just too straightforward. For me, I thought it was going to be a very, very serious case, because I thought the PDP would bring about polling booth by polling booth. At least if you have 600 and something witnesses, bring 250. Let the court know that you are serious with this case.
So they showed on seriousness towards this case?
Yes. The seriousness was lacking in some aspects. Because I wanted we want a case, even if at the end of the day, it will still tend towards maybe the incumbent, but let us be able to learn, let us be able to get something to help our Electoral Act. So to the people we know, that some places where there are obvious irregularity, because the justices will have mentioned it and will have, you know, emphasized on it. Like the issue of Atiku being from Cameroon, they still said that was not a non-issue.
Yeah.
So those are the things we're trying. You see, from the beginning, I don't know why people were jittery. You brought even the server's result. The PDP from the beginning said there was war in there is war in Borno. That the president, they couldn't have been able to generate like 800,000 votes. Now the PDP brought its own server result. You said there was war somewhere, people could not have come out en masse in that area. And what you even generated from the server is more than the 800,000.
So where did you get them from?
It's another 900,000. So you are already conflicting yourself. You are contradicting yourself. So these are the things that did not really, from the beginning, it was a lot. When I knew that this thing is just, it's beginning to look like a waste of time, was when the lawyer to the APC is a reputable lawyer, Olanipekun, just called one or two witnesses and said they closed their case. They were going to use what the PDP witnesses said all through the petition to argue their case.
But obviously the PDP is not satisfied with all of these issues. They are taking it now to the Supreme Court, and I remember sometime earlier this year that the PDP candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has said that he will stick with the decision of the tribunal, and because he was not interested in causing any sort of chaos, if I may use the word. But now he seems to be speaking with the other side of his mouth.
Yeah, what I want us to look at is the case is so simple at Supreme Court, because in Supreme Court you are not required to bring any witness. The Supreme Court is only going to educate on what has been done at the tribunal, and they are going to look at the reports or the judgment of the 5 panelists, and it's so straight and simple. One of the problems in governance in Nigeria is that most of our leaders are sycophants all around them, and what they try to do is that, and most times you find out that most of our leaders doesn't even like genuine, serious, and truth-minded people telling them the truth. What are the issues you are bringing to the fore? First, that there was rigging some states. 2, that there was a server. 3, that there was electronic transmission. And it was televised live across the globe, where the INEC chairman had to wait for each state rec to come to the center to announce the result on the spreadsheet. That is 1. 2, the server that you planned that INEC had was on a factdon'tlie.com or whatever, that was created almost 3 weeks after the national election. So for me, like he mentioned earlier, our lawyers, one of the problems we have in this country, apologies to the NBA, is our lawyers. Now, they will tell you that if you have strong evidences, they can tell you black is white or white is black. But in this case, it's so obvious that there is no case. First, there is no server. 2, the electoral law does not permit electronic transmission. 3, candidate Atiku Abubakar was a former NSCS director, which makes him qualify eminently to be there. 2, but by birth is a Nigerian. Yeah. Then Buhari himself is a former head of state He has served as the chairman of Petroleum Development Trust Fund, either by acquisition or by whatever. He has certificate. So for me, I think maybe it's part of the Dubai strategy, but don't also forget that sometimes if you look at the interview they had with the current CJN, and when they asked him to explain what technicalities is, we can never tell. It could be part of Dubai strategy to look at the technicalities involved in the come to judgment. But apart from the judgment between Buhari and Yar'Adua, which was about 4-3 split decision in Supreme Court, every other thing we've heard about the national election. Again, let's consider that national election is very, very critical in terms of what happens if yesterday the court give judgment that Buhari is no longer the president.
Now,
One, there is national instability. That is the fact. Insecurity steps in. The economy is thrown off balance. Look at the stock exchange yesterday. It has been trading low. Yesterday, they trade by 0.9% increase. So, which means that they are gauging the mood before people put their money as foreign direct investment or foreign portfolio investment. So, there are a lot of things even that the judiciary has to consider, apart from the fact that on the merit of this case did not exist.
All right, the case did not exist. Shijibumi Ademi Bennett, thank you for your time. Obani Akinwale, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Let's head into the papers now, see what the headlines are. In the studio, I have with me public affairs analyst Shijibumi Ademi Bennett, as well as in-house analyst Obani Akinwale. Good morning, gentlemen. Nice to see you. Right. Let's begin with the News Direct. News Direct is where we start from right now. Presidential election petition. That is what the focus is. PDP heads to Supreme Court over tribunal judgment. And tribunal judgment is victory for Nigerians, as President Buhari is saying that, as Tinubu, Abiodun, APC, others congratulate Buhari. Now, the Daily Times is the next one now. Presidential poll. Why Buhari floored Atiku, PDP at tribunal. Tribunal says Buhari eminently qualified to run as VP's petition lacks merit. Makes reaction, trail judgment as PDP heads to Supreme Court. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of the Daily Times. Blueprint is where we go next now. And it says again, Buhari floors Atiku. That's what the headlines there says. And the PDP sprints to Supreme Court, says ruling provocative and subversion of justice. Atiku, PDP's case, a complete waste of time. That's the APC is saying that. And a direct message to naysayers, as the BMO is saying that. Judiciary on trial, Ozekome, one of the lawyers, is saying this. And time to move Nigeria forward in unity. President Muhammadu Buhari is quoted at saying that. And all those you see on the front page of the blueprint. Now let's go to Daily Trust. Daily Trust says Atiku heads to Supreme Court as Buhari wins at tribunal. A mixed reaction trail ruling by 5-man panel. Okay, that's what you see on Daily Trust. Now Vanguard is next, and it dwells on the presidential tussle as well. Buhari floors Atiku, and tribunal. Buhari eminently qualified to contest. Electoral Act substantially complied with, and adds PDP didn't prove server exists. Claims that Atiku's from Cameroon, a non-issue. PDP heads to Supreme Court, says it's a travesty of justice. I wasn't worried all along, says Buhari. Ruling in order. Atiku, PDP's case, a complete waste of time, as the APC is saying that. Okay, that's the Vanguard. The Sun is next, and he says the same thing. Buhari floors Atiku. Ex-VP, PDP failed to discharge burden of proof over president's non-qualification, says Tribunal. And president's victory, good for Nigeria. Kalu is saying this, and PDP, APC, OB, Wike, Tinubu, all of them reacting differently to this judgment. That's the Daily Sun. The Nation is the next now. Atiku adamant as tribunal upholds Buhari's victory. And it's victory for Nigerians, says that the president. And PDP will appeal subversion of justice. And it's vindication of Buhari's character, says Tinubu, Lawan Baja, others, okay, verdict. Wike, Sanwo-Olu, Obaseki, Oyetola, Abiodun, Akeredolu greets president. These are all governors of various states in the federation. Now, gentlemen, besides this verdict from the Court of Appeal yesterday that made all the headlines, another issue that's also making headline alongside is the return of Nigerians from South Africa yesterday. 188 of them were brought back into the country. Now, Obani, let me start with you on this. There are some arguments from some people that does it have to be the headache of the government how these people move on? Is it government that should foundationally set these people up for, how to start life again in Nigeria, or government should only stand to assist them?
I think by the virtue of the constitution of the country, the first priority of any serious government is security and well-being of its citizenry. And if you look at the situation that happened in South Africa, a couple of our citizens have been traumatized. Some of them have lost their business. And vis-a-vis, look at the crime rate in Nigeria at the moment, going down, going up, always dwindling. So if you have this crop of sophisticated, so to say, guys from South Africa coming into the country, and some of them have lost the sense of livelihood, lost means of existence, and the government is not creating any palliative measure to help them settle down. Either we like it or not, there is always a Judas out of every 12. So the Judas of every 12 might be influenced and can also influence others. You remember what happened in Anambra, Zubulu killings, sometimes back. It was a drug war between two villages, two guys in South Africa, and had to come back home. So why the Nigerian government has to come in, because some of them are traumatized, especially the children, the kids. They are living in South Africa as what? And coming down with their parents, they have a very bad memory of where they are coming from. Coming down here, either you like it or not, you are sowing the seed of xenophobia into those children. So government has to come in terms of giving them psychological therapy and again, for the guys that have lost their businesses that are verifiable, government needs to come in. Then Nigerians as a whole, we need to take this role with our welcoming hand. But unfortunately, the unemployment rate in the country is not also helping. So there's two or more government can do. But in a serious climb, government needs to help them to settle down.
So they can find their feet.
Exactly.
Now, Shidibu, we remember the Libyan returnees who came in. Now, the category of those who, returned from Libya, it wasn't that a lot of them had businesses doing. It was the issue of they moved out somehow and then they couldn't find a living and they had to come back to the country one way or the other. This is a little different. These people here are people who earn a living, who have lived so many years doing their own businesses and all of that in South Africa. Now, if the Libyan returnees, up until now, they're still trying to find their feet with the little assistance they got here and there, how much more of these people, will they have the same kind of assistance, or something more should be done? Because this seems to be another category, or maybe a higher category of the Libyan returnees.
I think we're kind of fortunate this time around because these people have a kind of business sense, because they have something they were doing in South Africa. But at the same time, we have to really take good care of them. And the responsibility is much more on the states, because the federal government has welcomed them now. They're going to give them tokens to go to their different states. So what the state does, how the state picks up from where the federal government stops, is very key. So
it's suggestive to be distributed back to their state of origin?
Yes, let me tell you why. Because
okay.
Even in the report, they said they are going to give them so that they can find their way to their different homes.
Okay.
So where are the different homes? The states.
Okay.
Now, and I can remember one interview, I think it was in Edo State, one of the guys that came in from Libya said if not that they gave him some money, he will have resorted to armed banditry or kidnapping. I can't remember the guy's name now. Then a lady also said something, that they helped her to start makeup and hair salon and all, because those ones were really exposed to crime. They were living on conditions that were not really humane. So, but these ones, they have something they were doing. They had something they were doing, and they have come back now. So I think the states can do much more in terms of entrepreneurship, schemes, and help them to find their feet. Because either you like it or not, people are still going to South Africa. It's as if I saw something late last year / early this year. One of my contract staff came to me and said, I want to go to South Africa. And I said, why South Africa?
Why South Africa?
And he was looking for 250,000. At that time, I said, I can't help you for now. But I sat him down and I advised him. Because you do branding here. You want to brand your car, you want to, like TVC, all those things you put on cars. And the guy is doing fairly well. So you have given somebody 350,000 to arrange a visa, arrange so many things for you. Now you're looking for ticket. Once you get there, where are you staying?
Exactly.
How
do you sustain?
How do you sustain? Are you going to join a company? Do you think it's just a year where they just call you, come and brand this car? But I think by now, he will be thanking God that he didn't.
All right. Obani, the point there is, Nigerians are mobile people. And the fact that these people have returned, what is the likelihood that they won't go back to South Africa after a while when the xenophobia has reduced and everything is normal? Because they have worked, for those of them who have businesses and who have worked there, they have acclimatized. It's like their habitat. What's the likelihood they won't go back to South Africa?
I was thinking that we should do a devil's advocate.
Okay.
And why we have 187 people back from South Africa that are Nigerian that are not working, I'm thinking that is it not possible for our government to compel South African investment in Nigeria to employ a lot of them? Okay. Is it not possible? Because the statistic we have now is just 187, and we're expecting another round of 300 that we can document. And we have crop of investment of South Africa in Nigeria. Are we saying it is not explorable to ask South African government companies in Nigeria? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's not their responsibility.
Because the point there is, I don't see government enforcing it. They may only want to.
If South African government cannot guarantee the life and security of our people in South Africa, and we are forced to evacuate them, kudos to the CEO chairman of EPIS for doing that very laudable stuff. I think our government should also look at how do we get this back from the SA investment in Nigeria. And sincerely, yours, we need to review our foreign policy. Yeah. We don't continue to be a big brother.
On the other hand, too, these people were not working for South African governments or South
They are working in South Africa. Yes. They are working in South Africa. They are adding to South African GDP. They are increasing the output in South Africa. Now they are out of that system, and they are coming to a system that is not that as productive. Yeah. So how do we make them productive?
Maybe government, on the other hand, has to give incentives to the South African companies here to enhance their capacity to we have given them every incentive.
You can only repatriate a 2-digit profit from Nigerian economy. So we have given them every incentive to run properly from Nigeria.
All right, but they are not under obligation to take these people in anyway, based on the law.
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
All right, Obani, thank you so much for coming on the program. And thank you for playing the devil's advocate. Shijibumi, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Right.